Good morning on this glorious International Women's Day. So let's get the most important thing about today out of the way right up front. Now, I'm generally more concerned with men's issues because I feel that they get passed over a lot, at least here in the West. But that's not to say that women don't have issues. But a lot of these issues, to me, seem to almost be self-constructed. There is still the ghost of prejudice and so on lingering around, much as there is in terms of racial issues, but it's not really entrenched. There's no conspiracy, there's no patriarchy in the way people like to go on about it, at least over here. You have a few people who have particular institutional bias. What feminism seems to have been unable to tackle, what Women's Day seems to be unable to tackle, are other issues. The fact that people's choices may vary by gender, and that the role of inculcation of culture in that isn't particularly well determined, especially with the massive amount of discrediting that has happened in social sciences and psychology. We need to examine all this stuff again with a set of fresh eyes and with proper scientific rigour and understanding, and be unafraid to ask these questions. That's another problem. It's far too political to ask these questions about potential gender differences, not just biologically but psychologically, but those two are intertwined, and then psychology is further made complicated by social issues. So we need to examine all of this again with a more critical eye, without a political slant, if we're really to understand the relationships between the genders and the different choices that they make. There are indications that there are innate tendencies in men or women to make different life choices. Now, that doesn't mean you as an individual necessarily make stereotypical male or female choices in your life. It's talking about broad tendencies. People don't seem to understand that. I mean, if you make a statement that men are stronger than women, it's true, because the average man is on average stronger than the average woman. There may be individual women, or there are individual women who are stronger than individual men, but that doesn't render the original statement prejudiced or wrong. People don't seem to understand how these broad statistical realities do not necessarily reflect individuals. So if we say that men tend to take more risks and so on, that's true of men as a whole, and that's reflected statistically in job casualties and whatever else. The amount of men that get ruined and end up very poor, and the amount of men that succeed and get very, very rich. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's true for you as an individual. People don't seem to be able to wrap their heads around that, and that seems to be particularly true of ideological feminism as it relates to these statistics, as it relates to these employment statistics, as it relates particularly to things like the wage gap, which we're very likely to hear a lot about today. It doesn't really exist, at least not in the way that they say, and not for the reasons that they say. If you read independent analyses on it, that gap comes down to choices. Women take different careers that don't necessarily pay as much. Women take more time off. Women don't work as long hours. There's all sorts of reasons for this, but in the end it really comes down to personal choice. Where are you placing your work-life balance? Are you gaining more on one side than you gain in the other? And then in families you'll find that women spend more of the money, so while the men may be earning more, they're not spending as much. It's complicated. All of these issues are complicated, and they can't simply be boiled down to buzzwords and slogans that can fit on a t-shirt or a sign. If you want to deal with problems, you have to show that they're problems, and you have to start from a position of genuine knowledge about those issues. And from there, then maybe you can make some changes. Another issue we hear about year in, year out is how not enough women are going into STEM. And a vast amount of money has been spent trying to persuade them to do so. Speakers have gone to schools and colleges and universities. There's been all sorts of campaigns, all sorts of money thrown at the problem, and it seems to make very little difference whatsoever. In light of that, is it not likely that it comes down to choice? Women, for whatever reason, don't seem to be interested. No matter how much money we throw at the problem, no matter how many inspirational speakers or TED Talks or whatever else we do, there's only a limited number of women that want to go into STEM. Might there be some deeper root cause in that? And does it make sense to continue throwing good money after bad? If you're aware of what's called the Norwegian gender paradox, you'll find that in societies that are more equal, where anyone can do anything, these gender differences in career and educational choice and so on don't narrow, that they widen. When people feel free and empowered to do whatever they want, they do what they want, and that doesn't turn out to be what maybe certain ideologues and so on want it to be. How do you deal with that? You'll find more gender parity in careers in more deprived countries where the opportunity still exists, because it's all about that bling. It's all about getting the money and the skills to survive and to thrive and to live and to invest in the future. Once you've got a bit of comfort, once you've got a bit of freedom, free choice, people make choices that don't necessarily tie into what you want. Yeah, we do have a problem in general with a lack of engineers, mathematicians, scientists and so on, but that's spread across both genders. Maybe men would be more easily persuaded to move into those careers. So if we have a shortage, it might make more economic sense to concentrate our recruiting and inspiration and so on men, while also allowing that women can do anything and let those who want to pursue those careers without having to be forced at gunpoint and frog marched into universities to do it. You should be worried, I think, that if you are a feminist and if you're in full support of International Women's Day, I think you should be worried that so few people these days consider themselves to be feminists. And you should be asking yourself why. And then you should look at who is dominating the feminist conversation, who is presenting the feminist image in public, on the news, in newspapers, on key websites and so on. And I think you find your answer there, because the kind of women that present themselves as feminists on these blogs, on these places like Jezebel or Everyday Feminism, are absolutely the worst advertisement you could possibly have. If you mean dictionary feminism, if you mean equality of women, I think about 99% of people in the West are fully on board with that, but they're still not calling themselves feminist. Why? Because feminism has become this ideological clegg of nonsense. It has become intermingled with all kinds of other wacky political ideas. It promulgates these nonsense conspiracy theories like patriarchy theory. It peddles nonsense pseudoscience like objectification and so on. And anyone with a lick of common sense can look at these ideas as they're presented and the viciousness and nastiness of the people that are presenting it and not want to be associated with it and think it's bollocks. I think a particular case in point of where modern feminism has gone wrong is in its relationship with Islam. I mean, for all you bang on at Western democratic liberal nations where your rights are guaranteed and you are equal in the face of the law, for all you can bang on about those being patriarchal and oppressive and so on, and then to turn around and support Islam, which is a religious and political system which is overtly and absolutely, genuinely patriarchal and misogynistic and oppressive, when you can don the hijab as some kind of political symbol, that goes against everything feminism should be standing for. You should be seeking to liberate and educate these women in these nations. You should be seeking to work against Islam with the same vim and vigour that you work against evangelical Christianity and its attempts to make abortion illegal or keep it illegal in some cases. If you're outraged by the dying, twitching breaths of evangelical Christianity in the Western sphere, you should be absolutely apoplectic about Islam, because it was progressive for the 7th century, but it's not the 7th century. It's current year. Look, I used to call myself a feminist because I did and I do believe in equality, but egalitarian has become a far better label because I want equality for everybody, not just women. I think, and you won't listen, well, I'm a cis-het white male, why would you listen to me? I'm the oppressor. But I think if you want to appeal to people like me who you would insist are still feminists, then you've got to clean house. You've got to get rid of this mad group that seems to be in charge of your PR. You need to clean up academia. You need to concentrate on the actual facts of the matter. You need good science. You need good arguments. Merely screaming bigot at people just isn't going to do it anymore. You need to retain a sense of fun, which you've lost. And I don't mean just being cruel and horrible to people that disagree with you. I mean a sense of fun. Certain things you can let go, you can let slide. Certain things don't matter in the grand scheme of things. You need to stop being so stifling, so authoritarian, so censorious. You're now occupying the space that the religious right used to, ironically. Do you want to appeal to people? Do you want to make progress? Do you want to get anywhere? Or do you just want to be perpetually offended and upset at everything? That would be my message to you on this International Women's Day, is sort it out. Dang.
When I was just a baby,